My dad always told me in every pound of dates you're going to find a date pit. So I always feel through them to make sure, just in honor of him and the memory of him. Sometimes I find a pit or the little top of a pit, and sometimes I don't find anything. These are very soft and very clean brand. They're really nice. Doesn't look like there's any pit in this one. When I prepare the dates, I add pieces of butter in it and really work it in. It softens the dates, and when they cook, they stay nice and moist and soft. So I put, I don't know, that's about a half a stick for the 2 pounds. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. I don't really measure it. It's just to make them nice and soft, but you do have to work it in. Now that the butter is all mixed in pretty well, you add a few drops of orange blossom water, mazahad, and it gives them a really good flavor. Maybe a teaspoon. And then you mix that in. When I make these date cookies, I like to make them small. So I take the dates and I just roll them into little small balls. Out of the 2 pounds, I got 56 balls. I take the dates and I roll them in walnut pieces before I actually make the cookie. I've tried using the food processor and it makes too many too small. It becomes powdery and some of them are big pieces. So I like doing this. I want them in pieces, but I don't want it really ground up fine. I chopped about 2 cups of nuts. That's about the size you want. You don't want them real small, but you don't want them real big either. And now I'm going to splash a little bit of orange blossom water on them and mix them up. It just gives it a real good flavor when I mix it with the dates. Just a few sprinkles. And I'm just going to mix it up a little bit and make sure it all gets mixed in. I have 2 pounds of yellow semolina. I prefer the yellow. And I have 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. I add a tablespoon of baking powder. And I add 1 tablespoon, a generous tablespoon of mahlab, which is the black cherry kernel powder. I've taken the black cherry kernel berries, put them in a coffee grinder, ran it for quite a bit, and that's how I got this powdery substance. And I take and mix all the dry ingredients together so that they're really nice and incorporated into each other, and I have 1 flour dry mixture. I'm putting 2½ cups of clarified butter into the dry mixture. Mixing it all together, want it all to be moistened. And a little at a time. Do it like pie crust where you want the little balls. Add the rest of the butter. There's no sugar in these cookies or in this dough, but it is very rich because of all the butter. After I get this all mixed in, I'm going to add the milk, and only whole milk for this recipe. When I do baking, I only use the whole milk. I've got 2½ cups there. I may use it all, I may not. Each time you make it, it absorbs a little differently. So I don't put it all in at once, and you got to keep kneading it. Want to get the right consistency. Should be like pie dough. Starting to pull together, but you do have to knead it because the semolina has to absorb all the moisture. Well, it's still kind of crumbly, so we're going to put more milk. And continue kneading. I get this kneaded in, this might be enough milk. We'll see. You have to be careful not to put too much milk. The more milk you add, the harder the dough will be. So you want them to be nice and soft, and so I'm just putting enough to make it all get absorbed into the semolina and flour. Now, it's quite soft, but I think I need more milk because it doesn't feel like it would stay together yet. So I'm going to add a little more milk, a little at a time, until I get it to where I really think it would work. There's a lot of kneading involved in all this baking. Okay, it's a little soft, but like I said, I'm going to let it sit and rest and absorb all the moisture. If I need more milk later, I feel like I need more milk, I'll add some. Right now I'm just going to let it sit like this. I had the dough sitting for a while, probably about an hour, maybe 2, and it got a little firmer, absorbed all the moisture, and I tested one to see if it would work. It seems to be fine. You want it like pie dough. This is a little softer than pie dough. I don't use a rolling pin. I find that it's just as easy to flatten out the dough because it's a soft dough right in my hand, and I'm in control of how thick I want. I flattened out the dates slightly. I'm going to dip it in the nuts, put it on a corner, and fold it over. Then I pinch all the sides so that everything stays inside. Sometimes they crack in the oven. That's fine. They still taste good. Now, the tools that I have here, this one was my mother's. This came from the old country. These are ones that I used to use for my cake decorating. They're Austrian cake decorating tools, and they pinch the sides of the cakes. This one I like because it's actually bent a little bit, and it gives the design of a little curl. Yeah, I can do that and turn it. You can run out of ideas. You pinch so many of them. But this is what my mom taught me, and I'd like to pass it on to my children. It goes a little faster if you pinch off an amount and have them ready. I'm using my side of my hand and my palm. You want them long, not really real fat, because I like to make mine small. I take a date, dip it in there. These are the dates we prepared before. And I pinch around the edges. If you find that there's a little bit too much dough on one, just pinch it off. I make about a half a dozen or more, and then I pinch. You can't leave them sit too long because the dough will dry and it'll be hard to pinch them. Why do we pinch them? It looks pretty. And when you make them with nuts, and like matmou, you put the nuts inside, but then you sprinkle it with powdered sugar. And the powdered sugar stays on better with them pinched. I don't put powdered sugar on the date ones. It's not necessary. Nuts and fold. I shape them a little flat here, make them nice around the edges, and then I'll pinch them. Most of the time I just use a straight one. You have to think of what design you want to do. I make this one look like a little vine with some little stems on it. And as simple as it is, it's as pretty as it is. Okay. Very simple. Now we can also do this and make it look like checkers or quilted. There's a different one altogether. You can see when the pinch is nice and thin, they get crunchy and they look prettier. If you gather too much in the pincher, it's too fat and they don't look very nice. So you don't want to go through to the nuts, but you want a nice pinch. You're picking up the dough, but if you pick up too much, it bakes differently. Okay, if some of the dates show, because you won't get them all perfect. Some places of the dough is thin, some is okay, a little thicker. Oh, I know what I like to do. A little sunshine. Oops. There's something different. As you can see, this is very time consuming, but I love it. I love to do it. And everybody enjoys it so much. It's so worthwhile to me. I love to make people happy. I'm making these in honor of my mother, who taught me how to make all these things, showed me how to display food, and showed me that food is so wonderful and tastes so much better if it's beautiful. Especially on the Feast of St. Barbara, where she made so many beautiful desserts and just made so many people happy and in awe of all that she could do. And she showed me how to do all that. We're going to be here a while making all this dough, but you got the idea. Just straight lines and it's fine. They just bake nicer when they're pinched and they look pretty. See, that one's curved. I'm going to turn that the other way and do it. Turn it the other way and do a pinch, and then turn it the other way and pinch it some more. Whoops. There, playtime. I'm going to get the oven ready. Set it at 350. I did chop too many nuts for the dates, so I'm going to grind them some more and prepare them so I can make some Karabij, a little nut cookie that we make. This should be a little finer than what we used for the dates. That's about it. And what I do is take some sugar. And the other one, the dates are sweet, so we didn't have to add sugar. But the dough is kind of bland, so we're going to put sugar in here. I am putting a little more of the orange blossom water in for flavor. I didn't put quite as much for the date nuts. You have to really mix it up because it lumps up in the places where you first put it in. So you got to really mix it into it. So this is the leftover dough from the dates. It's fine. That's what I use to make my Karabij. I'm going to pinch off a small amount. I don't know what I need yet, but just a little amount because they're little. And I've taken a little ball, round it off. I stick my index finger in the middle and I'm pressing down on the sides, not making it too deep because you don't want your finger to go through the bottom. So I've made like a little tulip cup. I'll take a spoonful of the nut mixture that I prepared. I use a nice teaspoon because it's a little narrower. Fits in better. Press down on the nuts. Now I'm going to put this in my hand, and while I'm doing this, closing the opening, my thumb is pushing the dough upward so that I'm actually preparing a closure. Got that closed. You do the other end to make them look similar, and you're making it to be a little football. Now I roll it in my hand. My fingers are a little uneven so that it's high on either corner and lower in the middle. And then I roll it to complete it. And there's a completed one. It's nice to get them all the same size. That's what your goal is. And you don't want the dough around the sides to be real thick. So you gotta, do it enough but not too thin that the nuts will fall through. My thumb is kind of pushing the dough upward so that I'm pushing it closed. There, see how it closed up? And I make it look like a little football, doing both ends. The same, rolling it in my hand to kind of seal it a little bit. There you are. I'm going to put them in there on the baking shelf, wherever you bake your cakes. It's the second one from the bottom. I do have a rack up on top because after 20 to 23 minutes we're going to move it up and leave it in there to brown a little slightly. Looking good. Now I'm going to put them in the top just for about 3 minutes to get the tops a little browner. Alright, let's get them out. I think they're fine. They're slightly browned on top like we want. The bottom is nice and brown. And they cooked perfectly. I use the same dough to make the mahmoud. I don't use the wooden press, I use my finger. And I press out the dough, make a pocket. I fill it with the same nuts, I close them up. So it's just a big Karabij. But these are the matmul. You finish it up. And you pinch and decorate them the same as you do the dates. Now, this has a purpose. When you pinch them like this, we put powdered sugar on them, and this holds the powdered sugar in place. Here's the Karabij. That's how much I got out of the leftover dough. I'm going to put them in the oven now. It's still at 350. It won't take quite as long as the dates, so I'll just put them in for 15 minutes and then check. See how these are doing. They look pretty good. I'm going to move it up on top now so that they'll get a little brown on the top. Okay, we're taking them out, and I think they're fine. A little browner. They look nice. They're nice and firm. And if you noticed, I didn't have to grease the pans. There's enough butter in these cookies. See? These are some of the matmul, and they're the ones with just nuts. And to differentiate them from the dates, they are a little different shaped. I'm going to sprinkle them with powdered sugar. And that's done just before they're served. This is a sample, a small sample of how I would serve these. Usually, if I'm having a large event or many other people here, I would use a larger platter and many more cookies. But this is a good idea for you to see and know how to serve them. These are the dates. These are the matmul with the powdered sugar on them. And these are the little Karabij cookies. And this is the natif that you put onto the Karabij to eat.